Okay, so we have our email service active and SendGrid API key printed to our terminal. And again, I'm going to get rid of this API key as soon as this tutorial is over because exposing it here is not good. Anyone could then take this API key and abuse it and do nefarious things with it. So make sure you do not expose this anywhere, especially to a video posted on a public platform like YouTube. But once this is done, then we're going to set up SendGrid and actually integrate it into our system. And there's a number of ways to do that, but the way we're going to do is by installing two packages. So go ahead and npm install and save this. The node mailer package, which is a very popular package for sending emails, and the node mailer SendGrid package, which provides easy integration with node mailer and with SendGrid. It's just like a simple adapter package created by the author of node mailer. So go ahead and install those, wait for them to get into our system, download the npm packages, and we're right as rain. Now, if we go to the SendGrid docs, they'll give you some straightforward ways to send emails, but we're going to take a slightly different approach here than the one they recommend and construct our own service class, which will handle all email sending. So go ahead and create a new directory, McDurrit, called services. Great, there it is. And then inside that services directory, touch services, and then create an email.js file inside there. And while you're at it, also go ahead and create an index services.index.js file, because we're going to use both of them. And so inside that email.js file, let's create just a simple skeleton here. We'll say class email service and add a simple constructor to it that accepts a config object, and we'll initialize it here. Initialize. Then we'll say module.exports is equal to the email service. So we'll be creating instances of this class to use as our email service. Now we'll also go ahead and test some things here. So go ahead and create a file called services/email.test.js and add a little bit of code to it just so that we can make sure that our email service is behaving as we expect it to. So inside that test file, say const email service equals require email, and then say const email service, so we'll create a new instance of the class, equals new email service. Okay, well, decided to import that twice. That's nice of it. And we'll provide it with an empty config object, just to be clear here. And then we'll also do two things here. We're just going to expect our email service to have the isActive and transport properties attached to it when instantiated. So we'll describe a test email service block, and inside that block we'll have a callback, and that callback function will have a block that has a single test that will just say it stores the, let's say, stores isActive config flag and node mailer transport on instance. And so then we'll have another callback here, and inside that callback we'll expect the email service. No, not that one. The instance of the email service. Oh, that's why. So silly. That should be a lowercase. Email service to have a property. To have property of isActive. And we'll also expect that email service to have a property of transport. Something super simple, just to be sure that when we instantiate it, it has those properties and it's available. So if we run that, if we say npm test --email.test.js, it should run our tests and we should see it fail. Cool. That does not have that because we have not set that up yet. Now we can get that passing pretty easily by doing something like this. Let's import the node mailer package, and we'll also import the node mailer SendGrid package. SendGrid, lovely. And then inside this constructor function here, we're going to take this config object and we're going to destructure the isActive and API key properties from it. Then we're going to say, hey, let's create a new transport object here, equals node mailer dot, and you'll see here there's a few things. Create test account, create transport, which is one we're going to want to use, create transport, and then we're going to pass it a new transport configuration, which is set up by the node mailer sendGrid library. And all that does is accepts an object which has a single key, which is the API key. And so we'll pass this API key to the node mailer sendGrid configuration object, which will create our configuration for the node mailer.create transport method. Now, all of this might seem a little silly. All we're doing here is setting up node mailer to be able to send emails. And this transport is what we're going to use to send all our emails. So we're going to say, hey, this.transport should be equal to the transport. And we're going to say this.isActive is equal to isActive, just so we keep that stored on every instance of the email service class. Now, if we save that and we run our tests again, hopefully they're passing. Cool. Looks good. That's what we're hoping for. And just for good measure, let's also head into the index.js file and create a single instance of the email service that will export for use across our application, just to standardize what we export here. So we'll say, hey, const sendGrid API key and email service active equals require ... /config. Then we'll say const email service is equal to require.email. So we'll import the email service as well, and we'll import the two configuration settings that we need to instantiate a new email service. Then we'll do just that. We'll instantiate a new email service. It's equal to new email service. No, not quite. New email service. Thank you. That's what I want. And we'll say the isActive property is set to the email service active, and the API key property is set to the sendGrid API key. Ta-da! And then we will say module.exports equals email service. Just like that. And with that set up, we're now ready to build the methods that run our actual service for handling emails. So at this point, let's go ahead and commit our work. Git status. Okay, we haven't done any of that yet, so let's add it all. Lovely. And let's commit email service with sendGrid set up and ready to be built out. Lovely.